Mitch Davis with Tiger Sports Report. What do you expect to see out of Memphis the week after? After the second week you guys play?
It's like I said, it's unique. I don't know. I mean, I don't think they're going to change their personnel. You know, it's the same guys that are going to be out there, very similar to what we are. There'll be a few little tweaks here and there, and then after the first quarter, I think it'll be, right back to the same kind of battle that it was a week ago. It's, there's not a whole lot of things you can do differently. Obviously, if you're a Memphis 11-1, they're not going to change a whole lot, but what they've done has been really successful. So I would imagine they would continue to do the things that they've done with little wrinkles here and there.
Coach over here, Megan Rice, News Channel 3. Obviously, the setup's a little bit different, and obviously still work to be done. But have you guys been able to kind of appreciate just making it to this step?
I don't do a great job of that. I try to remind the players Sunday and then every day that we practice that 90-some% of college football would trade places with them to have this opportunity to be playing in the final week of the regular season, obviously the championship game. So it's an incredible honor. It's hard to kind of step back and think about it and appreciate what it is we have an opportunity to do when you got quite a task in front of you. And not that we played them last week, but there's a lot of things that go through your head. Probably even more so because you played them last week. Doesn't allow for a lot of time to kind of sit back and realize how much it's taken to get here and how appreciative we are. But again, we try to remind our players that just so that they can kind of stay in the moment and realize that this is the one goal that we had as a program that we don't talk about a whole lot when we started the season.
Here, went to right here, Jarvis Greer, WMC Memphis. Can you talk a little bit about your quarterback situation? You had the freshman come in and play really well last week, and how is Ritter? What is his status going?
Defined really well. Did you? Really well means you win, but no. Ben did he did a good job last week. For the first time he actually really got to play. I mean, last year he got in probably a little bit more than he had this year, just because of the nature of how the games were the year before. Even as a redshirt guy, using some of those 4 games, hadn't seen a whole lot of action this year, but as a guy that we got an incredible amount of confidence in. And I think that regardless of what the outcome of the game was, regardless of the 3 turnovers, I was impressed just with the way he handled it. I was impressed with the way our guys kind of rallied behind him. Never worried. Even after we turned it over twice in a row, that they still were behind him 100%. And if he's what we're going with tomorrow, then I think they'll be right along with him, believe in what he's done, and I think he'll grow a lot from what happened last week.
Is he saying it's game time tomorrow?
Yeah, I mean, Dez, we've always said it from the get-go that Dez is our quarterback, and but again, we got to make sure that he feels right, and got enough respect for Dez, just like we did 2 weeks ago, to say, hey, you got to be honest with us. We go out there and we warm up. You got to look me in the eye and tell me what you really feel. And if he feels it and he believes in himself, which he does, it's hard for that for a guy like him, as a competitor like he is, to say, hey, I don't know if I got it today. But I think that's something that as a coach we got to make sure we can take a peek at and look at and watch. And then like I said, I got a lot of respect for him to kind of look us in the eye, even as we get rolling, to say, hey, do you really have what it is that we need? And I think we respect him enough that he'll be really honest with us, and then we got to evaluate it as well, even in warm-ups.
Coach, Dick West, how are you? You've obviously built a terrific tradition with defense. Mike is the type of coach that isn't afraid to go out of the box. Did you know he had the flea flicker in his bag?
No, I don't know that we had seen it exactly, but I knew there was something. I think we saw something right before half there that they weren't just going to take a knee on the ball. So I think that there's a lot of things in there that could be brought out, and I'm sure could be brought out again tomorrow afternoon. So things that, like I try to say, regardless if you're a defensive guy or offensive guy, you can't go into a game trying to defend every little thing. Like, well, what if they do this and what if they do that? And, oh no, here comes no. You got to play. You can't sit back and worry and wonder about what's the next trick play. You got to be able to react and respond to it. And sometimes those things do catch you by surprise. And it worked for them, but hopefully it doesn't work for them tomorrow.
Isaac Simpson, Tiger Sports Report. Coach, when you have a situation like this, when you're playing a team 2 weeks in a row does that affect your play calling at all? Do you maybe kind of hold some things back in the first game and might kind of open some things up in the second game? How do you kind of approach that going into the second week?
You like to say, yeah, we really kind of held some things back like a preseason game. You know, we were already in the championship game. We knew that you know, we were going to get to play whether it was at home or possibly here. But no, I mean, you go in, you prepare to play a game, you prepare to win a game. You know, there's not a whole lot of things that you hold back. You know, is there some things mentally, you know, for an 18 to 22-year-old knowing that they're, you know, in the championship game? I can't say there's not, but you know, we tried to combat that as much as we possibly could last week. I did not want any of the coaches to think like that by any means, so I surely didn't want the players to think like that. So there wasn't like we were holding something back, believing that you know, hey, if we get to play these guys again, we're going to have a few things left in the barrel. I think that, you know, you go through 12 weeks of the season, you know, 12 games, whatever it is, you know, I'd say 15 weeks, but everybody got a good idea of what each other has. You know, I don't know that there's a whole lot of secrets still left when you get down to the very end of the season like this. So I think it's going to come down to who can make plays and who can stop the big plays.
Coach, the SEC's got Sugar Bowl, Pac-12's got the Rose Bowl. Would you like to see the American have one of those bowl games, maybe the Cotton Bowl, maybe something, and also would you like to see the expansion of the playoffs to get a group of 5 team in there, and you know, maybe UCF last year, and you know, you guys keep winning this game this year, or Memphis, somebody like that, Boise State even?
If you haven't heard me speak probably much, you'll probably know that I kind of leave that to Mike Teresco. I think he does a really good job at kind of being the mouthpiece to our conference. You know, the hard thing for us is, you know, I don't get a whole lot into the things that we don't have a whole lot of control over. You know, I got 100 and some 18 to 22-year-olds that take a lot of your time and things to do, as opposed to sitting here worrying a whole lot about, you know, where our destination is based on what happens, or you know, what the league is going to be able to do. I know that this is a really good league. I think from top to bottom, the parity in this league, each and every year. Again, I say each and every year. I've been in this league for 3 years, but it continued to impress me. You know, this is, like I said, last year we didn't play Memphis. This was the first time last week that I had played them. Obviously, had watched them and seen them in crossover games. But I think that you know, where the league has gone and where we have gone, and you know, I think, like I said, the parity and the strength of the entire league, I think it's starting to be recognized more and more. I don't think it's just that one team. You know, well, it was UCF 2 years ago that went undefeated and it's an anomaly. No, I think you're seeing year in and year out now, after 3 or 4 years, that you know, there's some really good teams, and I think it's going to be even more difficult maybe to run a table like UCF did because of the depth of the league. And you know, so if that's the case, I think we're going to have to probably continue to push, to fight, to get ourselves our own bid legitimately because of you know, what we've done, not just in 1 or 2 years, but in 4, 5, and 6 years.
Coach in the back, Studio Bidet, Channel 5 here. So much was made of obviously Michael Rebel's offense, but that defense really gave you fits last week. The pass rush was obviously really strong for them. You think getting Desmond's back is going to kind of make a difference for your offense?
Well, I hope that Dez is back and at full speed, but I don't know that Dez is going to be able to do a great job at stopping the pass rush. You know, unless we snap the ball to somebody else and let him try to block an edge or something. I think that those guys up front are going to be the ones who have to handle that. And it wasn't just the pass rush, to be honest with you. I thought they did a really good job. Memphis's D-line in the run too. I mean, we had probably more negative yardage plays against us last week than we had all year. You know, and that's not just through the pass. That was through, you know, some of the movements up front and the runs that we had normally been so good at, and not giving up negative yards plays. So that, I know that's a real emphasis for us. You know, that you know, what they did to us up front was you know, something I don't think that we had seen as much of. So we're going to have to do a better job. Obviously, pass rush is included in there, but you know, I don't think it was just those guys teeing off late in the game on the pass rush. I think it was from snap number 1 that they did a really good job at moving the front, mixing things up, bringing pressure, you know, throughout the entire game.
Coach right here, Jarvis Creek and WC Memphis. There's only been like 4 of these games back-to-back played here in recent memory. 3 of them have gone to the team that lost the first game. How do you feel about that kind of situation, and do you talk to your players?
Well, I found out that there were only 4 games in college football that have gone back to back. I didn't know exactly what the outcomes were, and I surely didn't go and study how they did it. Actually, one of our coaches, Ron Crook, who's our offensive line coach, he was in one of those games. So he played. He was coaching at Stanford. He played at UCLA, or they played UCLA in the last game, then played him again in the championship game, and they actually won. So they must have been the one team that won. So didn't study a whole lot of that. I think that it's obviously unique as it is to play a team back to back, to try to study the history of the 4 times it's happened in college football. Like I said, we got a lot of things on our plate and a lot of things to do. But how much can you be? How much different can you be? And what little things can you do? And I think ultimately, what can you settle in? And as opposed to what happened in any other games, it's going to be unique. This will be a unique one, not just because of last week, but also because of the battle that it was last week. I think that makes it even that much more unique. And some of those, at least the one that Coach Crook told me about, they blew out UCLA in the first game and battled their butt off to win the second one. So I think it's even a little bit different when it's quite a battle in that first one and coming back for round 2.
Okay, that concludes the Cincinnati portion of the press conference. Coach Fickell, we ask you to just come up to the podium here. We'll bring in Coach Norvell to join you for a photo op.